Welcome back, Mzansi. Now, we all know Tata loved his food, and one of his favorite dishes that always caught his fancy was a melt-in-your-mouth oxtail. And today, we are putting a mouth-watering spin on one of his favorite dishes by adding a little surprise of our own. And I can see someone's already digging in, having a taste of his own. Friend, and talking about someone's favorite, I see you've already started digging into Madiba's favorite dish.
Listen. What I love about Madiba is that he was this grand person. You know, he was larger than life. But at the end of the day, he used to go home and he loved South Africa so much that he just kept eating our own food. And I think that's so cool.
He kept it simple almost every single time. His favorite dishes were not dishes that were complicated. It was dishes that we all had in our homes that we could easily prepare in our own time. And also, he also loved the fact that people could add their own flavor, which is why, in honor of him, I decided, let me make something that I know he loved, but also just put my own little flavor on it. And that's why I've started now. I've got my oil heating up. And we're going to add a couple of different flavors to this. But to start the base off, I've got my onions that we're going to saute now until nice and soft. And people might be wondering what this special ingredient or this surprise I'm adding to this is, and you're busy with it right there. We're adding some apples and apple juice to this oxtail stew because what it actually does is when you make the dish, it helps to add a touch of sweetness, but it also tenderizes the meat as it cooks. So it's a good way to actually make sure that your oxtail has a unique flavor of its own. But we also are adding some apple pieces into the actual stew itself. And the reason for that is as it breaks down, almost just like how onion does when it breaks down, it actually gives body to your stew. So that's what we want, a nice thick gravy that's going to go with everything. Whenever I think of Madiba, this is what I also come to think about. I think about what would I be actually discussing with Madiba if I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with him. I think more than anything, him and I would be talking about the ingredients, the dishes, the food, his story, you know. And for me, enough food always tells a story, whether it's a story of history, whether it's a story of the future. It just gives people an opportunity to bond, and that's why I love doing that with food. So as you can see, just as we're talking about community and story, this food is already telling a story. We've added some onions in there, our garlic is already in there, our tomatoes are going in there as well, and just to, like we mentioned, add body, I've got not only my stock, but also some apple juice, like I mentioned.
A nice, deep, robust stock. I love it. I love the color on there, and I think that's such a great ingredient to add to this. But I mean, stock cubes, it's store-bought, also fine. I think the oxtail has so much flavor, so you can't go wrong. But now, Tooms, are we pruning it? Is this a snack for me, or is it also going into the pot?
I like the play on words in that. It actually is going into our stew as well. So as you see, we've built the layers up. We've had our tomatoes. We've put everything else. We've added our apple juice in there as well and our stock. And now all we're going to need to do is let our meat that we've already browned. Ahead of time, we added some spices and flavor to that, some salt and pepper and allspice to our meat. We browned it because we obviously want to ensure that it stays nice and tender. And now we're going to let everything cook down nice, medium, low heat for about an hour and let it cook down. Towards the 30-minute mark, when we see that, okay, we're almost done, our stew is almost ready, then we add the apple because we also don't want it to disintegrate. So let's just say our stew is now cooked for about an hour 15. You go in and add your apples in there. You still want to have a bit of body in them, but we also want them to be part of our sauce and add that additional sweetness. So I'll season our stew and let this baby cook down. In total, let's just say about an hour, 30 minutes, but keep checking on it because obviously...
But it should do this. It should fall off the bone.
Look at that. And that's exactly what we want.
I love the fattiness to the oxtail. It's something so, like, heartwarming.
Yeah.
I love the prune, I love the apple. It certainly comes through, very tender, all in all, Tooms. I'm a satisfied guy. Thank you so much for this.
And these are the words of Madiba. If he was alive, I believe he'd say exactly the same thing. And if you want to get this recipe South Africa, remember to go on to afternoonexpress.co.za for the full ingredient list on how to make this gorgeous, delicious dish.
Yummy.